Hey guys, it's your girl Londyn, and today we're getting into another Resurrection Shadow Day. So I'm very excited for this palette. So if you guys want to see what palette we resurrected, then stick around because we're getting right into it. Okay guys, do not adjust your screens. No, you are not tilted. Yes, this is a side pony bun. Why? Because I said why not? Why not a side pony bun today? And so I put it up. We did the side pony bun, and I'm here for it. I'm here for the bit of fun that it's giving us. So guys, fall is officially here. Spooky season is upon us, and it is a Resurrection Shadow Day. So I thought, what could we resurrect? No pun intended. That would really be an awesome throwback. So I went through my collection, which again is quite extensive. This is what I came up with. Wait for it. Pause. Let me make sure I have it the correct way. The Kat Von D VIDA LOCA palette. Guys, if you know, you know. This palette was the bee's knees when it came out. When this palette hit holiday 2015, so we are talking 6 years ago. This was when Kat Von D, it was still Kat Von D. It hadn't turned into KVD yet, or KVD Vegan Beauty. Kat Von D, very much so, was still the face of the brand, was still very interactive with the brand, was still doing all the artwork, everything. The brand was like really in its creme de la creme sweet spot of life. And this palette hit holiday 2015. Man, let me tell you, this thing sold out so fast. Like it was like hotcakes. Let me check and see how much. It was $59. It was $59. It sold out so quickly. This was a time when everybody really just wanted a piece of Kat Von D. And her makeup was just gorgeous. The artwork was gorgeous. At the time, the color stories were unique. You have to remember 2015, we really were just getting into the palette game heavy. So colorful palettes, which is what Kat Von D did, interesting palettes with interesting artwork, for an affordable price. This was like heaven to people. If this were to come out today, I don't know if it would have the same impact, if it would hit the same. I think most people would say this is way too freaking big, that nobody wants a palette quite this size. This literally is the size of a record. That was the point. So I think most people would say it's too big, it's too bulky. But back then, it was unique. It was special. And like I said, it sold out like hotcakes. And the one thing I did value about Kat Von D when she was with the brand is that when she said limited edition it was. She didn't bring back out her palettes. Now, as it got to the end of her time with her brand, the VIDA LOCA palette, her 20th or 10-year anniversary palette, those started coming and going on various sites. But she also was making her exit from the brand. Before that, when it was limited edition, that is what it was. So you knew if you wanted it, you need to get your hands on it. And if you didn't, you would regret it. And every palette collection that I ever watch, everyone says the VIDA LOCA is their FOMO. They were selling this at one point in time for $1,000 on third-party sites, on the eBays, the Macaris, the Poshmarks. Today, I looked before I got on, you can find them for about $100. So that is really low in comparison. It also is a 6-year-old palette now, so it really has reached its expiration. The back of it says it's 12 months, so this is truly gone above and beyond the expiration, but here we are because one, this is a collector palette to me. I would never give this up. Two, this is just nostalgia for just makeup in general, because this was kind of that sweet spot of makeup before it became really saturated. And one kind of wonder was still kind of around because we didn't have access to these types of things on the regular the way that we do now, on a weekly basis, because brands drop so many things. So I decided that spooky season, Kat Von D, VIDA LOCA, why not? So here's the Kat Von D VIDA LOCA Holiday 2015 palette. Let's go ahead and get into it. Like I said, it is the size of a record because that was the theme for the palette. Now this is the unicarton right here. Inside of the unicarton, you pull it out, and this is what you get. It was supposed to be like a record, but a color wheel. So this literally is a color wheel. It has a few shimmers in it. The shimmers are not the same type of shimmers you're going to see today in today's makeup. But for back then, they definitely were packing a punch. And it literally is just a color wheel. It was very simplistic, but we hadn't really seen it. So today, this would be just another rainbow palette. You can get it from Morphe, you can get it from Anastasia, you can get it from Tarte, you can get it from Colourpop, you can get it from anywhere. Back then, you couldn't. So this was really something. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into our look, in which I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do, but let's take a look, because like I said, I have not played with this palette probably in 5 years. It's 6 years old. I probably haven't played with it in 5 years. So let me move my mirror back just a bit. I don't even know how this is going to perform, so bear with me. Let's go ahead and we're going to go in with this color called Strutter. Strutter is just this kind of tan color right here. So that's what we're going to go in with. Actually, no, instead of holding it up for every color, I'm just going to try somewhere on the screen to put a picture of the palette, or at least a picture of the shade, because the palette is, again, quite big. So we're going to go in with Strutter. And Kat Von D does have a slightly powdery formula, not as much as ABH, but slightly powdery. And we're just going to take this to do our transition, just to put this down. It appears to be working fine. It doesn't smell or anything, so I was very happy about that. Because Lord knows, after 6 years, almost 7 now since we're coming up on 2022, I really wasn't sure what this palette would smell like or what it would perform like, because it has been some time. But I really think this Strutter color is just a nice transition color. And what I did like about this was that this had the transition, it had the brow bone, it had the mid color, it had the outer corner. Kat Von D was really good with doing that. She was very good with having pigmented colors where a host of skin tones could wear them. She was very thoughtful in that way. She really was not just an artistic, craftsy person in the artwork that she did, but in kind of the conceptualization of her makeup altogether. So next we're going to go ahead and we are going to, it's spooky season, so I kind of want to do a spooky fall look, but her purples are also really pretty, but I think I am going to keep it with a spooky kind of fall look. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the color Analog. Yeah, we'll go into the color Analog. So this is just that orange color. We're just going to see what this can do. Ooh. Okay, 6 years later, you're still trying to, okay. Still trying to give me a punch 6 years later. Now, if I'd known it was going to punch it like that, I surely would have went in with a smaller brush. But I didn't. That's alright. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty shocked at the performance of this palette, considering its age. Okay, alright. So let's go ahead and let's take this in on the other side. And as you can see, 6 years later, the punch that's packing, imagine having this right when it dropped. The market wasn't saturated with makeup or palettes yet, and so you didn't have things that were this punchy. Imagine getting that when palettes really were just kind of coming upon their heyday. You know, this was like the infancy of kind of leaving the drugstore and leaving the kind of single eyeshadow shades that Revlon and CoverGirl were giving you, or the quads that Revlon and CoverGirl were giving you, and really going to things like Sephora. We were just leaving MAC, and we were really shopping at Sephora, really looking at Ulta. I mean, this was just such a good time for makeup. 2015, to me, was just a beautiful time for makeup. And I will always kind of have fond memories of that time. So I really like this orange. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's switch to a smaller brush. Let's get into the Wayne Gloss number 17. So I think now what we want to do, dare I try to blend it out with a bit of yellow, or do I just leave it alone the way that it is and kind of do something slightly more simplistic? I think we'll hold off on that for now. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go in with the color Molder, and we're going to do some brow bone. We're just going to see what we can do here, since we're kind of thinking about what else to do. This is just that kind of manila folder color kind of like a yellowy cream. And put that right here. So for those of you who maybe weren't around in the heyday of Kat Von D, when it still was Kat Von D, Kat Von D was owned by Kendo, and she was a tattoo artist. She had LA Ink. For a time, I believe she was on Miami Ink. And then she got her own show. She does music, she does shoes, clearly tattooing, got into makeup, and the brand just really kind of took off. I think in part because of her artwork. Because not only was it beautiful artwork, and so you wanted to keep the pieces just because they were gorgeous, but because she actually did the artwork. So there's not many makeup people who are the face of a brand, have, you know, their opinions on the brand, but also draw their own artwork. Not just pick flash art or have an idea for artwork, but they're actually drawing the artwork themselves. So when her holiday stuff would come around, the trunks, it was awesome. If you ever want to see a full gorgeous Kat Von D collection, go to Tara Babies. Tara Babies' channel, which I will link down below. She has a gorgeous collection just overall of makeup. It is rather large, so if that offends you, then definitely don't go watch. But she has a beautiful collection of Kat Von D items. Just, I mean, she has the big trunks, everything. It's really gorgeous. Okay, so now let's go ahead. And I think what we're going to do is, I think we're going to do a little bit of green, and we're going to go in with Misfit, and this is kind of a mid-toned green, so not as bright as Vigil, not as dark as Lenny, but kind of mid-tone. I think we just want to add a little and hope that it doesn't get muddy, because, you know, orange and green, they're actually on the same side, so they really should not be particularly used together, but here we are. We're going to do it because, much like our side bun, why not? So I'm trying to be a little gentle with that, and then kind of go in and blend it out a bit. So since it's spooky season, guys, what are you doing for spooky season? Are you having a small get-together for spooky season? Are you handing out candy? I don't know what neighborhoods are doing. Are you dressing up? If you have kids, are they doing anything maybe at the schools for spooky season? Or I know sometimes the hospitals and the malls do. I don't know what they're doing this year, considering, you know, we have new, I don't want to say restrictions, but new things, you know, for the situation that is going on, but it's not as restrictive as 2020 was. So I'm interested to see what different towns will be doing this year, and what different people will be doing for this year, to kind of enjoy the festivities, but also, you know, be responsible in the process. So we're going to use the color Vox. Vox is just this very deep brown, and we're going to go into the outer corner with this. And again, I mean, look at this, almost looks black, and there is actually a black in the palette, but this almost looks black, guys, and it's not. I went in with Vox, which is the brown. So again, I am very impressed with how pigmented these are 6 years later. I know I keep saying it, but some palettes aren't even, let me put that down. I'm trying to hold it and also do this, and it's getting kind of heavy. Some palettes are, you know, 2-3 months in to a 24-month shelf life and are already starting to go dull and misperform. So for this to be 6 years in and still be giving us a life, I'm just saying that it's much like, it's kind of like furniture made from back in the day. When it's quality, it's quality. And, you know, quality will always stand the test of time. And I think that what we're seeing here is that this palette, because we'll only speak for this one since that's what we're using, maybe at some point we'll get into some of her other palettes, but this Mi Vida Loca palette has certainly stood the test of time and kind of shown that it is definitely quality. I am really, really enjoying this look. I think this is very, very pretty. So now, because I don't want to blend it out too heavily, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the shimmers. And like I said, these are not the shimmers of today. These were popping back then, but they may not live up to the hype of today's shimmers. So we need to kind of manage expectations for that. But I think that they're still going to perform very well. So I think what we want to do is we want to keep with a kind of bronzy green look. So I think that I want to do bronze and then maybe green in the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this color called Harpsichord. We're going to use our finger, and this is just like a bronze color. And that's what Harpsichord looks like. So this is something you probably have in your Natasha Denona. Oh, okay. In your Natasha Denona, in probably most palettes that are neutral or bronzy, you probably have this color. Or a color like it's kind of like a orangey copper type color. Really, really love it. And like I said, you can see it's not as poppy as today's shimmers or metallics. Back then, today this would be considered more of a satin. But back then, it really was a shimmer. But like I said, today, this certainly would be a satin. It's still beautiful, but it is not poppy in the way we have it today. And I don't want to wet it, particularly because of its age, and because I don't really like to wet shadows, because I do find sometimes it makes them look strange and almost clumpy when you put them on the eye. So we want to do that color there. Then we want to go into Lenny, and Lenny is a shimmer green, and look how beautiful Lenny is. That's gorgeous. So we want to put Lenny right here in the front. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, Lenny is giving us a kick, right? Lenny will be really pretty at Christmas time too. So we want to go ahead and do this. Bring Lenny up a little bit, and then we're going to take a smaller brush and kind of get Lenny into the crevices that my finger just can't quite go. So we're going to take this small Colourpop E20 brush, and we're going to go into Lenny with it, and we're going to kind of get right here in the corners. What I also like about this palette is that today it would be called just a rainbow palette. But back then, I mean, it is. I like how she did a color wheel. Like, we never think of anything as a color wheel. But I like how she didn't just do, quote-unquote, a rainbow-esque palette. She literally did, like, a color wheel. She was very artistic in that way. In making the palettes be an experience. It wasn't just eyeshadow. It was the palette itself was an experience that when you used it, it felt like an experience. It didn't feel like you were just putting on eyeshadow. It felt like an experience. I am digging this whole motif we have right here. I'm still so impressed with the black. Today, and I said the black because freaking it looks black. Fox, it's brown. That is darker than some of the blacks we're seeing today in some palettes. And that is a freaking brown. Yeah, definitely impressed. So we just wiped off that Colourpop brush, and we're just going to go in. We're just going to blend out the edges of all of our shades here on the lid, just so that way they don't have super harsh lines. Then we're going to wipe it off again, because we certainly don't want to get that deep brown in between our green and our orange. And we're going to pull it, or bronzy orange. We're going to pull the bronzy orange up front versus pulling Lenny back. Because we want the green to be a special surprise, but not to overtake the look by any means. Very nice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our, again, tried and true, I was going to say Colourpop, Morphe and Jaclyn Hill JH30. And this is what I go in and I kind of buff out the crease with after I get done with my colors, just to kind of make sure that it is softer. It doesn't have to be perfect because I don't want to lose anything, but just to make it softer than what it is when you go in and initially kind of lay it down. And I really like the way that looks. Since we're here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our Colourpop E28 brush, just a little domed brush, and we're going to do our inner corner highlight. Now this is inner corner highlight, regular highlighter. This was the time it was coming. So when you would have palettes, they weren't particularly looking to have a shade for an inner corner highlight because it was just happening. Like a lot of people use mattes as inner corner highlights. So in this palette here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go in with, oh, I have a little thing for my brush. We're going to go in with Love. And this is just this kind of metallic, almost like lavender-esque not periwinkle, more like a lavendery pinky color, which I know seems odd to put here, but when you see it, it just kind of almost looks not quite silver, but kind of like a whitey pinky color. And so I think it actually does go nice with this, because like I said, inner corner highlights weren't necessarily what you were looking at when you were trying to create your palette, because they were kind of just hitting the scene. Highlighting was just really hitting our scene. The photography scene, clearly they had always been there. You know, in modeling, it had been around. Stage shows, it had been around. But for the normal person, it was just kind of becoming a thing. And so I really, really am loving that. My base makeup, guys, is from my 3 BoxyCharm boxes this month. Right? Or I'm sorry, from last month. I'm really actually liking the makeup, so I don't know. Really enjoy those. Alright, so let's see. Let's do a little under eye, shall we? I'm going to take another brush. This is just an angled brush. I think under the eye, because we want to just get a little creative with the shadow that we have here. I think that we're going to... why not do the inner third? We're going to use a visual, which is this kind of very bright fluorescent green. And I just say, why not? I mean, I haven't used this palette in so long. I kind of am just having a really good time playing with it, because I didn't even use all these colors when I was using it. And honestly, it was so big, I rarely pulled it out to use it. And because it was such a collector's, I never wanted to break it, or, you know, it was kind of foolish in that way where you buy something, you don't even use it. And then in the outer third, let's go ahead, or actually, yeah, in this outer third corner, let's go ahead and we're going to put, I think we're going to do Anthem. The Anthem is purple. We're just going to put this here, especially with that brown. I think it'd be brown on top. It's kind of a nice little transition down to the bottom. I'm thoroughly impressed with this palette, guys. I'm just so impressed that 6 years later it is performing as well as it is. But again, quality is quality, and quality will always stand the test of time. And like I said, there are some shadows that off the shelf are chalky and patchy and nasty, and yet this is standing 6 years. And I think right there in the center, what we're going to do is we're going to do Legend. And Legend is just this, again, shimmer yellow, which by today's standard, not quite shimmer, more of a satin, but we're going to put this right here in the center, just to kind of connect the two and slightly brighten it a bit. Now, I like that all those colors we used, and to me at least, it doesn't look clowny. It looks very, very beautiful. So that is the look. That's what we have it. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to leave. I'm going to do my eyeliner. I'm going to do my mascara, come back, show you the look, and then we're going to have a small chat about the palette, and then we're going to close up the video. So hang on. I will be 2 shakes, come back, and we will keep talking. Okay, guys, we are back. I have everything done, and so let's talk. First things first, let's talk about liners. What nothing more fitting than doing a Kat Von D liner. So for the upper lash line, what I used was the Kat Von D liquid tattoo liner in Dagger. So her tattoo liner was her hot seller. She had it in black and brown. This is in black, and this is Dagger, in which, I don't know if you can see it, but it has an angled wand instead of a pointed one. So it makes it a little smoother to go along the lash line, and hence dagger. This is a great liner. Kat Von D always had really great liners, and this one was when it still did say Kat Von D on it. So, you know, I don't know if they changed it from the dagger liner. I don't even know if they still have the dagger liner, but I went ahead and I used that. Did just slightly super tiny little peaks of wings because, as you guys know, I have hooded eyelids, so that can always be a little wonky, but just a little something on the ends there to give it a little oomph because I did not do lashes. On the lower lash line or the waterline, what I used was the Colourpop cream gel liner in Teaspoon, and Teaspoon is just this beautiful green. I thought that that just helped to bring it all together because I'm really digging and loving this look. It's very beautiful. Eyelashes, you guys know what it is. I have been using my, I just literally set it down and now I cannot find it, and that is slightly irritating. Oh, here it is. I've been using my combo that I've been using in all my videos. It is the Kat Von D Epic Curl. This is the eyelash primer, and it's black, but it does look a little bit gray here. It's absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't make your eyelashes crispy, and it really just preps them for the mascara. It's awesome. I think it really gives the length that it needs without having to use eyelashes if you don't want to use them. You guys know I like eyelashes, but I also don't like fuss and muss. So the eyelash that I've been using, or mascara that I've been using, is from Dragon Beauty, not Nikita Dragon. This is Dragon with an O. This is from BoxyCharm. It's called Dragon Lash, and it's in black. I believe that this is a possibly might be a tubing mascara, I'm not quite sure, but what I really like about it is this wand. The wand is a brush tip, and while I've seen this before, usually it's a very hard wand. This is slightly flexible, but not a ton of flex, but slightly flexible, so it's not so flexible that when you pull it back, half of the mascara solution is going to go on your face, but it's also not so hard that when you try to do it, it's really not working with your eyelashes. I love it for the uppers and the lowers because you can just glide through it. It makes it so it's not clumpy, but you are going to get that length. And then the Kat Von D primer is really going to help give you that volume. So that is what I use. Let me kind of come in just a little more so you guys can see. So what we have here, and I really love this look. I am, like I said, I'm very shocked by the palette, and I'm shocked that it still worked so well. And I'm kind of sad that over the last 6 years I haven't been using it because this is just an absolutely beautiful palette, and I would never say to go buy a 6-year-old palette. However, what I will say is that if you want to buy it for nostalgia, it's much cheaper than it used to be. It is well past the expiration date, but if you have it and you're feeling comfortable with using it, I'd say pull that bad boy out because, as you can see, it still packs a punch. It blended beautifully. The pigmentation was still there. And I think that it might still have a little bit of life to give if it's still smelling fine and it's sanitized and you're ready to work with it. I think that you could revive it. You could have a little resurrection shadow day yourself and revive this palette for spooky season. So guys, if you have this palette, please let me know in the comment section down below when's the last time you used it, any memory you have around purchasing it. Kind of let me know, even about 2015 and that time in makeup, if you were into it. I know I was just getting into makeup here on YouTube. I was a late bloomer with wearing makeup. My dad did not let me wear makeup, so I wore makeup to senior prom, for senior pictures, and for my wedding day. So I really was like well into my 20s before I started wearing makeup, and it was bad. It was bad. So 2015 is when I really started getting into makeup here on YouTube and really started to figure out how to do my makeup, and Kat Von D were some of the first products that I used. So 2015 is very nostalgic for me, and Kat Von D is very nostalgic. So let me know some of your nostalgia down below because I would love to hear about it. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me know if you're enjoying these Resurrection Shadow Days because I really am. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up. Not 1, but 2. If you have not already, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified of all my new videos. And if you haven't already, follow me over on Instagram at Londyn Brielle so you can see what I'm doing when I'm not here with you. I do have a life outside of here. I do, and if you want to see what it's about, then go ahead and check me out over there. Guys, again, thank you for spending your time with me. I know you could be anywhere here on the interwebs, but you spent it with me, and I greatly appreciate it. I love each and every one of you so much, so please leave a comment down below because I love interacting with you guys. Until next time, guys, I love you, I miss you, have a great spooky season, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye.